Hello and welcome to the second ever football betting video that I have ever done. So in the first video that I did like this, I explained the reasons why I am embarking on the challenge of trying to make money on another sport instead of just MMA. And if you're interested in understanding why I'm trying to do this, I recommend checking out the first video like this that I ever did. I will leave a link to that in the description below. Check it out if you're interested. And at this stage in the video, I always like to go back through my betting progress over the last week to see how I've done, so I can share with you guys how I am doing on this journey. Now, at the moment, I'm just going to have to list the bets that I've placed and list the bets that I've won and lost. And you're going to have to kind of take my word for it. But in the next few months, when I get back from my trip to Singapore and Bali, what I plan to do is take a chunk of money, probably a few £1,000s, put them into a Betfair exchange or matchbook account. In fact, I might probably split the money up equally between both exchanges so that I have more options, basically, with different exchanges offering different kinds of bets. And what I will do, I will split that money up across both sites, and then in future videos in the next few months, I'll be able to show you my actual bet history on my betting exchange accounts. Now, obviously, I can't do that at the moment because I'm using traditional bookies, and with my MMA bets mixed in with that, I don't want you to show my account. I don't want to show you my accounts on these videos, because if the bookies found out who I was, they'll shut me down, limit me heavily, all that kind of shit. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to limiting and account closures, click on my name below, my YouTube channel name, and there's a video right smack bang on the front of my YouTube page that will explain to you in more detail what account closures and betting limitations are, and the stuff that basically happens to you if you keep consistently winning money. So the point I'm trying to make is, at the moment, all these bets are placed on my betting accounts, which can be limited and shut down. It's all mixed in with MMA, and this challenge is really all going to be about crushing a high liquidity sport. And that is the reason why I'll be using betting exchanges, because on betting exchanges you don't have to worry about being shut down or limited. Now, I know many of you watching this might be living in the United States and you don't have betting exchanges in the United States. A betting exchange is basically just a peer-to-peer betting platform where you don't actually place bets with a bookie. The bookie just kind of acts as an intermediary. The bookie's just a platform, and what they do is they manage the book between, different people that want to bet different things, and then they just take like 1 or 2% commission from whoever wins the bet. So you never have to worry about getting your account closed or limited on those sites for winning too much. But that is enough of the the boring stuff. I just do also want to say that even though you've kind of got to take my word for it that I've been placing these bets, I did literally place every single one of these bets and share it with my community in my public chat room before the games actually took place. So if you are a little bit dubious, a little bit skeptical as to whether I have placed these bets this week, you could just jump into my chat room. There's 31 people online right now. There's always people online in my chat room who will vouch for me, and many of them have tailed these bets as well throughout the week, so they will be able to back it up. So at the moment, you're gonna have to take my word for it that these are the bets that I've been placing, but in the next few months you will actually be able to see betting history and my account balance hopefully grow as the weeks progress, and I'm very looking forward to beginning that official challenge. So, and as we can see here, someone asking for some football tips, and well, we're going to get into that in this video. So, let's go back over the bets that I've had over the last 7 days. So, I don't use units. A lot of the time people ask me, how many units they should bet on this football bet, all that kind of thing, and I find it a really difficult question to answer, because I, over the years, have kind of built up my own way of managing my money and managing risk and placing bets. And the way I personally manage risk and place bets is, when I want to bet on something, I gauge my confidence level, and then when I log into one of my betting accounts, I will look at the account balance there, and I will just gauge a reasonable amount of money to risk on that particular bet depending on my confidence level. So I find it really, really hard to actually give you guys units, just because I don't fucking use them. Basically, I think units are silly. So with the way that I have kind of categorized each of these bets, I've categorized them as small, medium, big, and very big. And hopefully you'll kind of gain an understanding of what that might mean. But it is basically just relating to my confidence level. So the bets we had last week that won, we had over 3.5 goals in the Liverpool versus Norwich game. My odds are around 2.0 plus 100. I went pretty damn big on that. Didn't share it in last week's videos. It was kind of like a last minute thing that in the couple of hours leading up to this game, I wanted to watch it live on TV. I was scanning through all the odds and thought the odds on the over 3.5 goals pretty fucking good. So I went for that. Won a nice big bet on Friday to kick the betting weekend off. Then I did share this bet in last week's video. It was a 2-leg parlay accumulator. It was a double on Liverpool and Spurs to win at odds of 1.50 minus 200. Of course, that ended up winning easily. Liverpool won 4-1, Spurs won 3-1, although Spurs did make us sweat a little bit for it. Then my biggest bet of the weekend, including any action that I had on the UFC, I went very, very big on both teams to score in the Cardiff versus Luton game. Of course, we won that, and that was in last week's video as well. Then I had my first live bet of the weekend on the evening Premier League fixture between Spurs and Aston Villa. So I went very big. This was another one of my biggest bets of the weekend, including UFC. I went big on the double chance on Spurs to win or draw. Odds are around 1.40. I believe I hit this live bet during, I think it was half time. Spurs were 1-0 down to Villa, but they pretty much dominated every single minute of the first half, aside from the minute the Villa scored in. So I felt the 1.40 minus 250 was generous, and of course it did turn out to be generous because Spurs ended up winning 3-1, scoring 3 goals in the final 20 minutes. Then on Sunday, I waited for the team sheets to come out for the game between Manchester United and Chelsea. Saw that Chelsea were looking pretty weak with Tammy Abraham up front, a player that looked pretty average in the Championship last season. And also, their centre-back pairing of Zuma and Christensen was also looking quite weak as well. When Man United, first home game of the season, Old Trafford's going to be a fortress. Home advantage is going to be huge in the first game of the season for them. So I decided to go big on them before the game at odds around 2.05, which is plus 105. They ended up winning 4-0, which obviously sounds like a great bet, but it was the scoreline wasn't really fair to Chelsea. Felt Chelsea played great and just got caught really with 4 sucker punches in the second half. 4-0 didn't really tell the story of how the game played out. Chelsea looked really good, to be fair, and didn't get anything out of the game, which was really unlucky. But the bet won. It was a big bet at even money, happy days. Then the final bet that I had this week, which was a winner, was it was in the Liverpool versus Chelsea game in the Super Cup on Wednesday night. Actually, I should put live bet in there because it was a live bet. There we go. This was a live bet on Wednesday. It was Liverpool versus Chelsea, and it was Liverpool to win the trophy at odds of 1.60, and I went big on that. But I do want these videos to be very, very honest, guys, and I am still a rookie when it comes to football betting. I'm betting on other sports. I did make a lot of money betting on football last year, but I'm not sure if it was beginner's luck. So I'm going to be completely open, honest, and transparent with you, like I always am. I always fucking am. If you can't tell I'm honest and transparent in my videos, you must be fucking blind. And truly, I will say to you right now, I always say that good bets don't always win and bad bets don't always lose. Even though Spurs struggled a bit and Man United struggled a bit against Chelsea, I would say that these 5 winning bets here were very, very good bets based on all the information we had available to us. We can't do anything about the fact that Aston Villa did much better than expected. We can't do anything about the fact that Chelsea looked good in the first half against Man United. But based on the information we had going in, when we had to make our decision, these 5 bets were bloody good bets. I really do think they are. This live bet here on Chelsea to beat Liverpool was a terrible bet. Liverpool to beat Chelsea. This bet on Liverpool to lift the trophy against Chelsea was a terrible bet. It was a very, 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 very bad bet, and I instantly regretted it, and I was very, very mad at myself when I did bet it. Very mad at myself. And I gotta be honest with you, it was a bad bet. And like I always say, guys, this is why I will not endure shit from people in the comments. I will bite their head off and attack them, because I am not a fucking inexperienced gambler. I am not ignorant. I am not a guy that cannot see the truth. If I do place a bet, I will hold my hands up and say I place a bad bet. If I lose a bet, if I try and justify a losing bet, it's not because I'm trying to make excuses. It's because in order to be a professional gambler, you have to have conviction in your decisions, and you have to stand by your decision. When you consider all information available just before you make a decision to place a bet, if you are comfortable in knowing that you made the best decision with every single piece of information you had available to you, when something happens and you lose, as long as you did your job beforehand, you have to stick by your fucking decision. It's not about, you don't make excuses, you don't backtrack, you stick by your decision. But when you make a bad bet, you need to fucking own it and man up and realize you made a bad bet. And this was a bad bet, and I'll tell you why this was a bad bet. I had a big bet on Liverpool to beat Chelsea in normal time, because even though Chelsea looked good against Man United, I felt it was more about Man United looking poor than Chelsea looking great. But really, with Kante back in midfield for Chelsea, I thought they were a different team midweek against Liverpool. I completely underestimated the impact that Kante would have on that game. He looked absolutely outstanding. He took the pressure off the Chelsea defence, and he was quick at holding up the ball and moving it forward when Chelsea were looking to counter-attack. I feel on the balance of play over the entire 120 minutes, including extra time, I feel like Chelsea were the better team, no doubt about it, and they were very, very unlucky not to win the game. And the reason why this was such a bad bet, first of all, I will tell you the reason why I placed it in the first place. So I placed this bet because the way I looked at it was Chelsea had a good first half, Liverpool were the better team in the second half. I felt Liverpool took over in the second half. Chelsea certainly had their moments. They had some great opportunities to score, but Liverpool were the better team in the second half. There was no doubt about it in my mind. And I just felt the momentum swang in Liverpool's favour in the second half in a big way. They were starting to, Chelsea were getting deeper and deeper and just looking to counter-attack Liverpool. And I felt that eventually Liverpool would break them down. I felt that within the next 30 minutes during extra time, Liverpool would find a way through, and they would break Chelsea down, take the lead, and then shut up shop. And to some extent, that's what happened. They did score early in the early in extra time. Obviously, Chelsea then equalised, got back into it with a penalty, which was a dubious penalty, but I actually do think it was a Chelsea. The keeper brought Abraham down. There's no doubt about it. Black and white, it's a fucking penalty, whatever. So it was 2-2. But I bet on Liverpool to win the trophy at the end of 90 minutes. So I took a big loss on Liverpool to win in normal time. And then I basically placed another big bet of a similar size on Liverpool to lift the trophy, because I felt they would get the breakthrough in extra time. And my rationale behind that was, like I said, momentum swang big time in Liverpool's favour. And I also felt that if it did end up going to penalties, I felt that Liverpool would have more experienced players who had a better chance of scoring penalties and dealing with that pressure, dealing with the pressure, competing in the Champions League, going for a title in the Premier League, so many good penalty takers. But then after I placed the bet, I immediately regretted it, because I remembered that one of the reasons why... Oh, and just to back up on that, I felt Chelsea would be at a disadvantage if it went to penalties, because they had less experienced players, inexperienced players likely to be taking penalties, like Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham. And actually, some of my analysis did kind of pay off, because it was Abraham that did miss the penalty, and part of the reason why I went for Liverpool to lift the trophy is simply because I felt that Liverpool's more experienced players would be better at dealing with the pressure of taking penalties than Chelsea's less experienced players. That kind of paid off. But the reason why I instantly regretted this bet was because part of the reason why I felt so confident in Liverpool to win on penalties, if it got that far, was because of Alisson being such a great penalty keeper. But then I remembered, oh shit, Alisson's injured. Adrian is in goal for Liverpool, so... fuck, I fucked up. I was like, oh my god, oh no. And then I remembered Kepa, the Chelsea keeper, is an amazing penalty keeper. So I was like, fuck, like I've put my money in a bad position here at favourite odds. Don't feel great about it. But the bet won. Liverpool did win. So this is one of those perfect examples where I say good bets don't always win, bad bets don't always lose. That was a bad bet and it won. And I feel bad for anyone that bet Chelsea because Kepa did great in penalties. He almost saved, he was a whisker away from saving 2 of the Liverpool penalties, and obviously Abraham missed. You know, you put inexperienced players in a high pressure situation, that's what happens. It's why I went on Liverpool to lift the trophy, but I completely forgot about the goalkeeping situation. And, you know, I should have paid the price and lost that bet, but luckily I didn't. Now, the bets that I lost, we've talked about the winners. Only lost 3 bets, so 6 and 3 for the week, which is pretty damn good. And the best part about my performance betting on football last week was that 2 of the losers were only small bets, which was great. I only lost 1 big bet. Bournemouth against Sheffield United. Bit unlucky, man. Bit unlucky with this one. Bournemouth were winning the game 1-0 all week. All week. Oh my god. You can tell it's been a busy week, boys. My brain's not firing properly. This loss was a bit unlucky. Bournemouth were winning the game 1-0 pretty much all game. But typical situation in football. You know, the home team sits on a 1-0 lead. They don't put the game to bed by grabbing a second goal. And, you know, Sheffield United scored an equaliser. I think it was in the last minute of the game to end the game 1-1. A bit naive from Bournemouth. You know, could have done a bit more to go out there and get a second goal and shut up shop and bury the game at 2-0. But they took a risk and paid the ultimate price. So that was a bit of an unlucky loss, to be honest, because Bournemouth were winning the game, you know, 1-0 for the majority of the game. Also, there's a season ticket holder at Bournemouth on my chat room who's a member of my website, and we were speaking about the game this week in the chat room, and he said that Sheffield United were really poor. You know, Bournemouth weren't great either, but Bournemouth, you know, should have got the win. They didn't have to win. They were just a little bit unlucky. So, you know, take an L on that, but we kept this small, so no big deal. And then this was probably, I would say, out of all the results in the Premier League, out of all the results in the Premier League last weekend, this was the strangest result. You know, Brighton are, on paper at least, one of the weakest teams in the Premier League this season. Watford are looking always a strong team, and they got destroyed 3-0 at home by Brighton in the opening game of the season, where you would expect home advantage to be huge. You'd expect teams to be at their best in their first home game of the season. And what was even more confusing about this result was that Watford fielded their strongest team. But to be honest, football's one of those sports where just like the Man United versus Chelsea game where Man United won 4-0 but Chelsea actually played really well, I do feel from watching Match of the Day, reading the match report, that this might be one of those games where the scoreline doesn't really tell the whole story. From what I can see from watching Match of the Day, and obviously from reading the match report, it sounded like Watford were the better team, created more chances, but it was just one of those games where Brighton just hit them with 3 sucker punches, counter-attacked and scored 3 times. It was one of those games where every time, you know, Brighton attacked goal, they seemed to score. So, bit unlucky for Watford. And I do feel that the bookies have potentially overreacted to this result, and we will get into a bit of that in a little while. We will get into a little bit of that. It was a strange result, but I definitely wouldn't write Watford off after that because it looked like they were the better team. In terms of what was done on the pitch, not necessarily the scoreline. And I think the jury's still out on Brighton. So 2 small losses and a big loss, and then a bunch of big and very, very big wins, which was nice. And like I say, if you are sceptical over the validity of these bets, spend a little bit of time in my chat room, and I'm sure you'll see me pop up from time to time with a bet. And if there's any specific games you are interested in, for example, I will be live betting the Huddersfield Fulham game, which is scheduled to start it's already started. I need to get a move on with this video. We'll be live betting this game if you're interested in that. Spend some time in my chat room, and I might drop a live bet in, who knows. So, now, want to talk about, what do I want to talk about? Okay, so after this video, I won't be putting out any more football videos for 2 weeks because I'm going on holiday, on vacation for you guys in America to Bali and Singapore, so I don't want to look at a screen for 2 weeks. I'm not going to be doing any gambling for 2 weeks. But that is a bad thing and also a good thing, because the good part about that is when I get back, we will have some reliable Opta data to work from. So I used Opta data to make some to make pretty much all my betting decisions last year, even my live bets. Opta data helped me make a lot of money last season. I believe Opta data was one of the reasons why I was able to make so much money betting on football last year. But as you know, if you know anything about stats, you will know that in order to be able to use stats for everything, you need to have a lot of usable data. And at this stage in the football season, where we haven't had that many games, teams haven't spent that much time on the pitch, we don't have that much data to work with. But by the time I get back from my trip to Bali and Singapore, we will have had 4 Premier League weeks, 4 Premier League games from all the teams, and that will be a good amount of data that we can start using to identify patterns and make betting decisions with. So I will be using Opta data by the next time you see one of these videos. So even though we're taking a couple of weeks off, the bets probably will actually be a lot more reliable when I get back, because we'll actually be able to have cold hard data, cold hard stats to work from. And that brings me on to a little bit of a point that I want to get into when it talks about MMA, stats in relation to MMA, because I often hear people talk about using stats to predict the outcome of MMA fights, and when I hear that, it literally is just a massive facepalm moment for me. Like, I literally just want to eat my own fist because it's so frustrating. Because if you know anything about stats and usable stats, you'll know that in order for stats to be useful, you need an incredible amount of data to be able to identify patterns from. If you don't have much data, the stats become completely useless. And football is a sport where data and stats can really help your betting decisions, because the teams and the players compete so much that you can accrue an incredible amount of data in such a short space of time. So the data in a sport like football can be very, very valuable compared to data in MMA, where the information is basically useless. So to try and illustrate the point that I'm trying to make, if we look at a game of football, so one game of football lasts for 90 minutes. So there are a Premier League team will compete 38 times in a season, not including cup games, 38 league matches. And if we get our calculator out and we do 90 minutes, which is the game of the time that a football game lasts, times 38 matches, that equals 3,420 minutes, which actually comes to, I did this calculation earlier on, if I find it in my notes, this comes to 57 hours. So the point I'm trying to make is, in 1 year, in one football season, not including cup games, just league games, we will get 57 hours of game time from a Premier League club, accruing data that we can use to look at stats and form opinions and try and identify patterns. That's very, very useful. 57 hours in 1 year. That is a hell of a lot of data that Opta collate that we can use. Now compare that to MMA. If we look at MMA, the fighter that holds the record for the most amount of time spent in the octagon is Frankie Edgar. He spent, throughout his career since 2007, over the last 12 years, he has only spent 7 hours in the octagon. In 12 years. I need to put that as clearly as I can. In 12 years, Frankie Edgar has only spent 7 hours in a competitive environment. In 1 year, a Premier League club, in the league alone, not including cups, will spend 57 hours on the pitch accruing valuable data. Now, obviously, data is only useful when the quality of it can be trusted. And that is the reason why last season's data is mostly useless. Because in this season, squads will have new players, new managers, they'll be facing new opposition, they'll be using new tactics, and they will have improved since last season, or maybe declined, but they will have worked on things in pre-season. In order to reach the highest level of any sport, you need to be on a constant journey of self-improvement. And fighters athletes, players, they will improve and decline tremendous amounts in the space of just 1 year. And this is why stats are completely useless when it comes to MMA. Because Frankie Edgar will have been accruing stats that you'll see on Fight Metric since he made his UFC debut way back in 2007 against Tyson Griffin. And I assure you that the Frankie Edgar that fought Tyson Griffin in 2007 is a hell of a lot fucking different than the Frankie Edgar that lost to Max Holloway a few weeks ago. Because fighters are on a continual journey of self-improvement. They make massive changes to their performance every 1 or 2 or 3 years. So trying to use stats to predict the outcome of MMA fights is a fool's errand. It is totally pointless. You do not have enough time to create meaningful data and stats that can become useful. And by the time you do, fighters will have changed so much or started declining because they've got old that it won't matter. You know, when a fighter may only compete for 30 minutes. I mean, look at this. In a 1 year period here, Frankie Edgar only spent 20 minutes in the cage. That doesn't tell us anything against completely different styles of opponents. Stats in MMA are fucking useless. It is a fool's errand trying to use stats to predict the outcome of MMA. So I hope that illustrates the point. In an entire career, Frankie spent 7 hours in the octagon. In 1 year, in the league alone, not including Champions League, EFL Cup, FA Cup, friendlies, Europa League, Community Shield, not including all that, 57 hours. And if you're a championship club, you get even more league games. I think they play 44 times a year. So I hope you get my point. This is why Opta data will be very, very important to us this season. And I really wanted to cover that in a little bit of depth because I don't want people going, why is it okay for you to use data and stats to make football bets, but it's not okay to use data and stats to make MMA bets? Well, there's your fucking reason. I hope it makes sense. So now enough of it. Enough of the shit. Let's get into some bets. Let us get into the bets. And as ever, this is not a sponsored video. This is not sponsored content. I do not earn a penny for including STS Bet in this video. The reason why I'm using STS Bet is quite simply because they are one of the only betting sites that haven't shut me down or limited me on the device I'm using. This device that I'm using now, I've had for a few years, is blacklisted everywhere. It's not blacklisted on STS Bet, so I'm using them. I don't endorse STS Bet, don't recommend using STS Bet. I get no money for using STS Bet, but that's the reason. And I'm not going to log into my account because if they know what my account name is, they will probably close me down and limit me. And I'd quite like to have a betting site to use to make these videos with on this device. But, you know, this device is going to be going in the bin in a few weeks when I buy a new one. So we'll be able to use all kind of betting sites then. Right, bets for this weekend. So this is actually a pretty difficult week for betting on the Premier League because just like us, the bookies don't really have that much information to work from. We don't have useful Opta data to work from. We don't have much footage to work from because there's only been one game week. And the bookies are basically guessing and making up these odds, and we are basically guessing and making up our opinions because we don't have a lot of information to work with. And because of that, I personally feel like the bookies have overreacted to last week's results. I really feel like they've overreacted, and I will just kind of explain a couple of the reasons why I think they've overreacted. So Aston Villa are a newly promoted team. They did well at Spurs last week, but they're now quite a big favourite over an established Premier League club in Bournemouth, which are very dangerous going forward. And I believe that the reason why they've got Aston Villa as such a big favourite is because Villa done well at Spurs, who were one of the strongest teams in the league, and Bournemouth did badly at home to Sheffield United. But was that just a one-off? Was that just rustiness in the first game of the season? Will Bournemouth look a lot better this weekend? We don't know. I feel they've also overreacted a little bit with the odds on Brighton. Brighton are, on paper, one of the weakest teams in the league. They picked up a great result last weekend away to Watford, but was that just a one-off? You know, Watford didn't look bad despite getting dicked 3-0. So, you know, Brighton as favourites at home to West Ham. You know, should West Ham actually be the favourites there? It's complicated. They got dicked 5-0 at home to Man City, but the wheels only really came off in the last half an hour. Up until then, they didn't do bad against the champions of the Premier League. And then probably the clearest example, in my opinion, of how the bookies have overreacted to last week's results. Watford obviously got dicked at home 3-0 by Brighton, and they are now a big underdog against Everton, who, I mean, Everton aren't anything special. They only drew away 0-0 to Crystal Palace last week, and Palace are also one of the weakest teams in the league on paper. I think they're going to struggle this year. But Everton, one of the biggest favourites this weekend in the Premier League. Arsenal to beat Burnley at home, and Man City to beat Spurs at home, the only two bigger favourites this weekend. And this is one of the reasons why the Premier League is so interesting, because yes, last week Watford got dicked 3-0 at home against Brighton, but it doesn't look like they played particularly badly. Everton didn't really light the world on fire against Crystal Palace, although they did create a lot of opportunities and have a lot of possession. And this is a potential banana skin. But as a bettor, it's tough to bet on this game, right? Because Everton didn't look particularly good against Palace last week, but they have got home advantage. It's their first home game of the season. Goodison Park will be an absolute fortress this weekend. But at the same time, you're looking at Watford and you're thinking, do they deserve to be this big of an underdog? Do they? Are they worth a small bet? You know, when we bring their odds up here, I understand. I'm sorry, it's a little bit laggy because my PC's absolutely shit. But don't worry, I'm buying a new one next week. If we look at the double chance on Watford to win or draw, that's 2.0 plus 100. It's decent. But as a bettor, we're left in a difficult position because even though there seems like value on Watford here, what if they really are shit this year? What if that Brighton 3-0 win at home wasn't a fluke? And what if they go to Everton and get steamrolled? It's tough for us. It's too early in the season to be able to form strong opinions. And this is why I'm looking forward to getting 4 weeks of Opta data to use and 4 games full of footage for us to analyse. It's an exciting time of the year. It's one of the greatest times of the year. I'm pumped. I love football. But it's difficult to make these calls just yet. So this is an example of how the bookies are overreacted to the results from game week 1. But there might be a little bit of value on Watford. I'm not taking it. I'm going to keep it tight. But it's interesting. That's an interesting bet, Watford double chance. The only bet that I am going to take in the Premier League this weekend, like I say, I think the bookies have overreacted to the odds, which makes it complicated for us. The only bet I'm taking in the Premier League this weekend is Liverpool to beat Southampton. They're away from home. They're at Southampton. You know, they're playing at St Mary's. The odds are roughly 1.50 minus 200, and I think that despite that we saw Liverpool involved in a very, very grueling game midweek against Chelsea in the Super Cup, I feel that it would be much more likely they would underperform if they were to have lost that game. Hopefully, after they won that game, the adrenaline and the high of winning that game will carry them through till Saturday. And even if they have to rest some key players, I feel like Liverpool have got enough strength in depth to win this game at St Mary's on Saturday afternoon. Because Liverpool will not want to drop points here and risk going behind Man City this early on in the season. And with Man City having a tough game at home to Spurs in the evening kickoff, this might actually be an opportunity for Liverpool to get ahead in the table. If Man City were to drop points at home to Spurs, which is very, very possible. So, I like Liverpool to beat Southampton away from home. Another reason why I like Liverpool here is because obviously the risk of betting on one of the big clubs in the Premier League when they go away from home and they play one of the smaller clubs is that the smaller club could nick an early goal, park the bus and make it very, very difficult for the top team to get a result. You know, they might have to come away with a draw, which would make betting them as a big favourite a little bit dangerous. But I'm not too worried about that here, because Southampton struggle to score goals going forward. They don't have a lot up front, and defensively they are very, very weak. I feel that even if they did try and park the bus, they would struggle to stop Liverpool from scoring. Southampton have just got a very leaky defence. I do feel like this is a pretty solid bet this weekend, and I will be going big on Liverpool. So that is my only pre-game bet on the Premier League this weekend. I am going to keep it tight. The only other bet that I considered was the double chance on Newcastle United away to Norwich. Obviously, Norwich have got some key defenders missing at the moment, and when I saw Newcastle, the double chance on Newcastle to win or draw at 1.62, don't know what that is in money line. Let's take a cheeky little look. That would be minus 161. When I saw the odds on that, that was very tempting. The reason why I'm going to pass, though, is because Norwich City, they're newly promoted. This is their first game back at home in the Premier League in quite some time. First home game of the season. Carrow Road is going to be absolutely buzzing at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Massive home atmosphere. Norwich is a tough place to go. Carrow Road will be absolutely fucking bouncing in there at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Home advantage will be huge for Norwich this weekend. So if this game was taking place in a few weeks' time or in the middle of the season, I would definitely hit Norwich double chance. But with this being the first home game of the season for Norwich, the crowd are going to be right fucking behind them. Players are going to be right up for it. We saw they did, they tried to hit Liverpool head on and have a right fucking go at Liverpool last week at Anfield. So even though it's tempting, I just don't feel like it's the right week to bet against Norwich here. And that is it for my Premier League bets this weekend. I'm just taking Liverpool to win straight, although Newcastle double chance and Watford double chance are tempting. I'm going to leave it, though. I am going to leave it. Obviously, I'll be live betting many of these games. I'll be watching the evening game between Man City and Spurs. I will not be watching any other games because I'll be on a plane to Singapore on Sunday, which is... It feels like it's still so far away because I've got so much work to do, but in actual fact, that flight is approaching very quickly, which is a little bit scary. So yeah, won't actually be able to live bet these games because I will be on a plane. But I do have one more bet this weekend for you. It is in the Championship. Remember, I said I am a season ticket holder with Cardiff City, so I have a pretty good read on them from week to week. I go watch pretty much every Cardiff City game, home and away. Go to every home game, watch all the away games online on Cardiff City TV. And they are away this Sunday, away to Reading. I'm actually hoping to watch this game on the plane. I've heard that I'm flying with Qatar Airlines, and I hear that the Wi-Fi on the plane is pretty decent. I've done some Googling. I'm hoping it holds up because I'd be pissed if I have to miss this game on Sunday. It's a 17-hour flight, and I'm hoping to run 3 hours off that by watching 3 hours, maybe 2 hours will build up and stuff. Hoping to burn 2 hours watching the Cardiff game at lunchtime on Sunday. They're away to Reading, and Reading are a team that have been struggling. It's a results business, and they have been struggling in the results. But there is a bet on this game that I like, and I will bring it up for you here. Should have preloaded it. I'm very, very sorry. If we go to Sunday, scroll down to the Championship games. Come on, Flash Go. Let's scroll down. Reading against Cardiff. There's a lot of football in the Czech Republic on Sunday. Here we go. Big Championship game. Sunday lunchtime. Cardiff against Reading. So there is a decent bet on this game, in my opinion. So last weekend, my biggest bet of the weekend was both teams to score in the Luton versus Cardiff game, and we saw in that game that Luton were terrible. Luton played very, very poorly in that game. But every single time Luton went forward, they looked like they were going to score. And the reason why that happened was because we're just so bad defensively at the moment. When I say we're, I mean Cardiff City. They're my club. They're the club I love. Every time Luton went forward, they looked like they were going to score. Because Cardiff, we're very weak defensively at the moment. We're wide open at the back. Our number one choice goalkeeper, Neil Etheridge, is out injured. Our number one centre-back, Sol Bamba, is injured. And to replace Sol Bamba in the summer, we bought a new centre-back in Aidan Flint, who's doing very well for us. He looks very good, and he's going to be very good for us in time. But if you guys know anything about football, you'll know it takes a while for new centre-back partnerships to gel. And at the moment, our centre-back partnership of Aidan Flint and Morrison, they just haven't gelled. They really haven't, and they're very shaky at the back, very vulnerable to conceding goals. So when teams come forward, they're causing us a lot of problems. And Luton only really had 4 or 5 attacks in that game last week. They managed to grab a goal. We looked very vulnerable all game. And I think we're going to struggle on Sunday with Reading's attack, because even though Reading are struggling in the league, they are a very, very attack-minded team. If we look at the stats from their last couple games in the league, again, don't have a lot of data to work with this early in the season. But if we have a look, they have lost their they've lost their first 2 games of the season. Forget about this. It's a cup game. CHA here stands for Championship. These are the 2 league games. These are the games that count. And if we look at their start of the season, it's rough. They've lost their first 2 games. They've also scored in their first 2 games. But if we drill into the stats, it gives us a little bit more information to work with. If we bring the stats up here for the Hull game, which was their last game, we can see they were away to Hull, they lost 2-1. But if we look at the stats, we can see that they created 13 attempts on goal, which is a lot. It is a lot of attempts on goal. And they also had 58% possession, which is significant here because we're also weak in midfield. One of the reasons why Cardiff are so bad defensively is because we haven't got anyone in midfield who can hold the ball up. We haven't got anyone that creative in midfield. It's a typical Neil Warnock team. Long balls and set pieces. There's no build-up play. There's no creativity in midfield. We don't hold the ball up very well. And one of the reasons why we are so bad defensively is because the midfield can't hold the ball, so they can't take the pressure off the defence. So when teams are going forward, it's very, very difficult for momentum to swing back in Cardiff's favour because there's no one in midfield to control the game and swing momentum back in our favour, so teams can just keep attacking. And with Reading having so much possession and creating so many attempts on goal, they are going to create chances against us because of our midfield and defence. And there's a very strong possibility they're going to score because of that. Again, it wasn't just a one-off. If we look at their opening game of the season, they lost 3-1 at home to Sheffield Wednesday. And if we look at the stats in that game, again, created 13 attempts on goal, had the majority of possession, 59%. They're going to get opportunities to score against Cardiff, and because we're so weak defensively, because we can't hold the ball up in midfield, there's a good chance they're going to score against us. And that brings me on to the second half of the bet. Obviously, it's all well and good saying Reading will probably score. Will Cardiff fucking score? Well, yeah, I think they will, because we're very good going forward. I can be very open-minded and critical of my own team as a professional gambler. I have no confirmation bias. I can look at stats and information and see it for what it is. And it doesn't matter that I absolutely love Cardiff City. It doesn't matter that one of my favourite things to do in the world is taking my 70-year-old dad down to Cardiff City Stadium to watch a Cardiff game. I fucking love it, but I can still look at their games objectively. And attacking going forward, we are very, very good. We've got bags of pace with players like Mendes Lang, Hoylett, Josh Murphy, Glatzel, brand new 5.5 million striker from the Bundesliga 2, looking very, very sharp. We are looking good up front. We are looking good going forward. Our problems are in midfield and defence. It's very likely we will score this weekend. We are probably one of the best attacking teams in the league. Aside from Bobby Reid, we've pretty much got the same attack that we had in the Premier League. So chances are we're going to score this weekend. Chances are Reading are going to score as well. That's why I like both teams to score this weekend. Feels like a pretty good bet. And also, I was reading a Cardiff City forum. Yes, forums still exist. It's not all on social media. And someone actually made the really good point on the forum that this season Cardiff are playing the formation of 5-0-5, and if you're an American, that might not mean much to you, but if you are from Europe, you will know that what that basically means is Warnock's style of play is to pack the midfield and pack the attack and bypass midfield and basically pack defence, pack the attack, bypass midfield, and just play the long ball over the top and look for goals from long balls, balls over the top, and set pieces. And again, that just speaks to the fact that with Reading having so much possession in their first 2 games of the season, with us not really having a midfield, with us either trying to park the bus and defend or go all out attack on the counter, very, very likely Reading will have a lot of possession in this game. Very likely they'll create opportunities, and with us being weak defensively, they'll probably score. With us being so good going forward, having that Premiership quality going forward, the guys like Josh Murphy, Mendes Lang, Junior Hoylett, Glatzel, it's a bit of a problem for Reading. It is going to be a bit of a problem for Reading. So that is it, boys, for this football video. I hope you enjoyed it. Some deep football talk. I'll be back with an MMA video in an hour or two, though. Don't worry, we're going to take a deep dive into Pettis Diaz. We'll be back very soon. That's it for football betting, boys. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. Take care.